In our last episode, we discussed the difference between needs and wants, and also talked about direct needs, indirect needs, dynamic wants, and static wants. Although I made these terms up, I find them very helpful in accurately determining which category each thing falls into, so that I can set the most effective budget to yield me the most in savings. In this episode, we're going to go over three budgeting methods: the envelope method, the pay yourself first method, and the 50-30-20 method. You're listening with Ronak Shah to Budgeting, A Step into the Green, Episode 2, Budgeting Methods. The first budgeting method that we will take a look at is the envelope method. The envelope method does what it says in the name. You take the cash you have from your after-tax paycheck and split them into different envelopes. One for groceries, one for entertainment, clothing, utilities, etc. Some can also be set aside for savings. Savings can help towards financial goals or as an emergency fund, also known as a rainy day fund. The envelope method is a great way to discourage impulse spending because once an envelope becomes empty, you no longer have funds for that particular purpose until the next paycheck. So if you don't pay attention to how much you spend on, let's say, snacks from your grocery envelope, you may struggle after a certain period of time to buy essential items like bread and vegetables. Since the envelope method does not prescribe how much money you should designate for each purpose, one principle always applies: prioritize needs over wants. Set aside more money for needs. What I would do to make this easier is split, let's say, groceries into two categories of their own: essential groceries and non-essential food items. The former is a need and should therefore have more money allocated to it. Another method that can be paired with the envelope method or the 50-30-20 method, which we'll get to very shortly, is the pay yourself first method. This means that as soon as you get your paycheck, you immediately set aside a portion of it towards savings before spending anywhere else. The main benefit is that you are accumulating in your reserve in case you ever need it. However, it is not recommended in every scenario. If you have to pay down a debt or another important thing, you should prioritize that over savings. So this method is good, especially if you have a surplus in your budget, but don't feel compelled by it in trying times. The final method that we will take a look at is the 50-30-20 method and is personally my favorite. In this method, 50% of your after-tax income is for needs, 30% for wants, and 20% for savings. This is where the pay yourself first method can be easily integrated. Since 20% must go towards savings, you can immediately set that amount aside as soon as you get your paycheck. So if you make $5,000 a month, $1,000 would go towards savings. This method requires the concepts we went over from the previous episode, being able to discern our needs from our wants, because for many people, temptations influence their judgments. Like how some may put down tea or coffee as a need. Not getting this right will lead to less savings, if any. Now, my recommendation with this method is that if your spending on needs at a particular point does not reach the 50% mark that is set, then put the remaining in savings. Always try to accumulate as much savings wherever possible. In the opposite scenario, that your needs surpass 50% of your income, transfer some portion of the budget set for wants to needs until your next paycheck. In any of these methods, your costs may exceed the limits set anyway if you are already in a steep debt. The first priority, as mentioned before, is to become free from unhealthy debt like credit card debt. For other types of debt like mortgage loans or student loans, make sure you can at least afford the monthly payment. So, to conclude, these are just 3 budgeting methods that can help you get out of debt if you are already in it, or create a greater surplus of savings if you aren't. Either way, budgeting will make your finances easier to manage and will help in creating a stress-free life. It's up to you exactly how you approach it. A popular way is by setting up a spreadsheet. Some may use some kind of program, and some may write it by hand. I personally like using a spreadsheet because it is very quick to run calculations. Let's say you find a bunch of coupons or discounts, you can compare your previous expenses with your new ones very quickly. I hope you find the approach that best suits you. I want to thank you so much for listening to this initial 2-part series on budgeting, a step into the green, and I hope you stay tuned for any future episodes that may come.